Honestly, if my husband hadn't been awake, I think it could have been a different story. We were worried about leaks in the RV with the heavy rain, and he heard screaming outside and came and woke me up immediately, and we had to be out of there in about 10-15 minutes. The hardest part was there was a little boy who started floating downstream, and he was screaming, asking for help, but there just wasn't anything anybody could.
What happens when a season's worth of rain slams into drought-hardened land, all before sunrise? This is the story of how flash floods turned deadly across central Texas on Independence Day weekend. In the early hours of July 4th, central Texas was still asleep when heavy rain began pounding the region. No one expected the full force of what was coming. By Tuesday, more than 100 people were confirmed dead. Entire neighborhoods were swallowed by fast-moving water. Campers and families were swept away in minutes. Search and rescue operations are still ongoing across the state.
Honestly, if my husband hadn't been awake, I think it could have been a different story. We were worried about leaks in the RV with the heavy rain, and he heard screaming outside and came and woke me up immediately, and we had to be out of there in about 10-15 minutes. The hardest part was there was a little boy who started floating downstream, and he was screaming, asking for help, but there just wasn't anything anybody could do at that point.
How did you feel at that moment?
I was about to jump in, and my husband had to hold me back. He said, "You're gonna go too, and there's nothing you can do if you jump in." I didn't know how I was gonna live with that. And thankfully, by the end of the day yesterday, I saw his face online, and he had been rescued.
Next day, we know this family, the couple, were missing in their 70s, and waited for the road to clear. On the 5th, we came and we searched about 10 miles. We found 2 bodies, a little girl and a little boy, and then we finally came up here and we found the dad that we were looking for. And today we came back because we haven't found the wife. We believe she's still here in the area, and so we had a great group of people show up, about 40 to 50 volunteers, just looking through rummage and digging up as much as we can. We knew that they weren't really searching this way past Mystic, because I know we need to help those girls, but we were able to find him, so we are hopeful.
The National Weather Service had issued early warnings for flooding in Kerr County as far back as Thursday. But conditions escalated quickly Friday morning. Hunt, Texas, recorded about 6.5 inches of rain in just 3 hours. That's a 1-inch to 100-year rainfall event for the area. The rainfall came down too fast for the ground to absorb. Much of central Texas is in severe drought, some of the worst in the country. When dry, compacted soil meets heavy rain, water runs off instead of soaking in. That runoff surged into creeks, streams, and rivers. The Guadalupe River, which cuts through several summer camps, jumped from 3 feet to 30 feet in a matter of hours. Flash floods are always more dangerous at night. On Friday, most people were asleep when the water began rising. In rural places like Hunt, even receiving alerts is tough. Cell service is limited. But there's also something else at play: warning fatigue. In Texas Hill Country, flood alerts happen often. People start tuning them out. The first warning came at 1:14 a.m. By 4:03 a.m., it had escalated into a full flash flood emergency. Kerrville was issued a flood emergency at 5:34 a.m. But by then, it was dark, chaotic, and too late for many to escape. Navigating floodwaters at night is perilous. People can't see how deep water is or where it's flowing. Debris, power lines, and fast currents add to the danger. This flood wasn't just rare, it's part of a bigger pattern. Texas has faced multiple flooding disasters this year alone. Across the U.S., flash flood emergencies hit record numbers last year. Experts say rising global temperatures are fueling more intense and frequent weather extremes. What happened in central Texas wasn't just a fluke, it was a warning. As recovery continues, one question looms large. Could this happen again? And are we ready for it next time?